Well, good morning. Well, I was going to say good morning, but I guess it's good day today for our Nuggets at Noon. And let me just remind you that Nuggets at Noon is Monday through Friday. On Saturday and Sunday, we will not be joining with you at this time, but we're so glad that you've joined us again today. We left off last Friday on Joseph and the favor from his father, from God, from Pharaoh that was shown to him. Now, as I mentioned, this is one of my favorite stories, and so I want to go back and just pick up with him a little bit. Joseph, the scripture tells us in chapter 37, verse number 2 of Genesis, that he was 17 years old, taking care of his father's flock. And now, assuming that him being sold to Egypt around the same time or when he was 17, and assuming or knowing in chapter 41, verse 46 of Genesis, that he was promoted to second in command to Pharaoh, that would have meant 13 years that he spent there in Egypt. We know that he spent at least 2 years in prison because the dream of the cupbearer that he interpreted, he forgot about him. And the scripture says that it was 2 years later that he remembered about Joseph being in prison and interpreting his dream. So out of those 13 years, at least 2, maybe 3 or 4 were spent in prison. Now, I'm leading up to something, so hang with me here. In chapter 45, verse number 6, there had already been 7 years of famine. There were been 2 more years that were going to come. And so we see that he was probably around 39 years old when he revealed himself to his brothers in chapters number 45, verse number 6. So we see here 22 years went by from the time that he was, from 17 years old, possibly when he was sold into Egypt. 22 years. Now, after those 22 years, we find when he revealed himself to his brothers, obviously at this point, he found favor with his brothers. Now, the reason I wanted to bring all of this out, in those 22 years, even though he had favor with his father, even though he had favor with God all along, and finally, at the end, he found favor with his brothers, he was tested. And I want to just let you or remind you that even though we seek to find favor with God and that we find favor with maybe some men, with some individuals, that there will be tests. In the very beginning, Joseph was tested with death. I mean, they were going to kill him. His own brothers, his own family was going to kill him. Then later on, when Potiphar's wife accused him of trying to rape her, I mean, my goodness, I'm sure that he thought that was the death sentence, that Potiphar was going to kill him because of this accusation. Fortunately, he got the prison sentence instead. And of course, God was with him and protecting him and found favor. Remember, he found favor with God. But anyway, he was tested with death. He was also tested with moral purity. And you and I, we just are going to have to remember and know that we're going to be tested with things along the way, along the journey. Even if we're found favor with some, others are not going to like us. But even the devil himself, he's going to test you with things that will come your way to try to see how committed you are to God. And then he was not only tested with the moral purity, but he was tested with an opportunity of revenge. Now, my friends, he had the power to really take it out and get back at his brothers, but he did not do that. He forgave. And so these were just some of the tests that he had to face. And I want you to know that if you are truly trying to follow the Lord and trying to find favor with God, favor with men, you're going to be tested. And whether you pass that test or not will determine whether you continue to find favor with God. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow on Nuggets at Noon. God bless. Bye-bye.